In this video, I'm going to show you how to vibe code an incredible looking UI and front end for your app that looks like it's ready to ship from the very beginning, even if you're not a designer by trade. And just out of curiosity, at the same time, we're going to have this alternate timeline running. And here, we're just going to completely disregard and skip everything I'm about to teach you in this video. And so then at the end, we'll be able to compare both versions, and then you'll really see how much of a difference these tips make. So if you've been following along, in the last video, we built this. This is the blueprint, which essentially represents the comprehensive plan and first prompt that we can introduce to our AI coding agent. Just that we're not going to do that quite yet, because first we're going to focus on actually planning out the design that we want. Okay, so in this case, the app that we're building is a tool that helps people learn English by generating, and storing content, really interesting stories in English at their level. So they can scroll through these, find a story that seems interesting to them, and read or listen to it so that they can practice their English. Okay, probably has nothing to do with your interests. That's fine. This is the example that we're building today. And so this blueprint has tons of information about the app. Essentially, it has the full scope. But what it doesn't have right now is we haven't looked into almost any design ideas. So what a lot of people would do at this step is they're going to take all their planning and their information and they'll just push it straight into Claude and have it start the build. Okay. The problem with that is AI doesn't really have much of a personality when you don't specifically instruct it on how you want the design to be. And so it's going to come up with something that's really pretty bland. A lot of the time it's going to look templated like, the blue, purple gradient stuff, or the super AI looking like the starburst icon and all that. We don't want it to look generic. But the problem is a lot of the time when it gives you something, you may know that it's not there yet, but it's hard to tell it exactly what should be different. Sometimes you really just end up scrapping the whole thing and starting over, which is not at all what we want to do. I can tell you there's a much better way to do this. So what we're going to do today is get some inspiration. All right. We've got to train our eye on what good design really looks like. So the best way to do this is to really just look at what professional designers have already done. So there's a lot of websites for this. If you're building a SaaS website, there's this really cool one that I just found called Saspo, and it's essentially just the best real SaaS websites out there. So, look at this design. It's got mountains in front of the information here, or we've got some graphics, images. There's some really great examples that you can get. Mobbin's actually another up and coming one that's becoming more and more popular that can do the same thing. You go to Mobbin, you can find a bunch of examples of design. I'm actually not making a website today. I'm making a product. And so the one that I like to use is called Dribbble. Okay. And Dribbble, I think it's a paid site technically, but all we really need is to see the designs. We don't have to download them, right? We're just getting inspiration. So mine is a language learning app, and that doesn't really matter for this case, but the thing that does matter is it's mobile native, and it's going to have a lot of cards. And so each card is going to be a piece of content, almost like YouTube, if you see all the videos next to each other. And so I'm going to look up card UI so that I can find some good examples here. So these ones are less visual. I'm looking for something with a picture. This is okay. This is kind of cool. Yeah, I'll take a screenshot of that. And I'm just going to let these save to my desktop because I'm going to use them pretty soon. So I just found this one. It's all right too. Kind of interesting. So here's another screenshot. Okay, so while the other me is doing that, I'm actually going to jump in to the Claude Code extension of VS Code. And like I said, I'm just going to paste the full prompt in here, the blueprint with all the context that the system needs, but none of this UX UI work and research and planning and preparation that I'm doing in the other session. Okay. And we're going to see how well it does. Okay. This is Opus, same models I'm going to use for the other one. And I'm just going to hit enter. Okay. So that's going to work for a little bit. Let's go back to see what I do on the other side. And then when they're both done, we can compare them in the end. So now we're going back to Claude, and keep in mind, this is the chat that has the entire context of my app. This thing understands what I'm trying to build better than anything else right now. And so we're not starting from scratch on the design anymore because we've got a couple examples. And so now we can do a little bit more of a targeted search to get some closer references to what we're looking for. So I'm going to add in the screenshots that we found. You can see all of those here. Okay, I'm going to just throw them all in as inspiration. Now I'm going to say, okay, so now that we have the blueprint built out, I want to look at design. And so I have all these examples of apps that look kind of interesting and that could potentially do similar things as the one that we're trying to build. And I want you to take these as well as what you know about the app that we're building and give me examples of real products that I can look into, websites with URLs that I can click to find more targeted examples to keep in mind. Okay. So now it's saying, looking across all 7, they share the exact DNA that your app needs, which, I mean, I hope that's what I was looking for, is things that would apply. So it's actually referring Mobbin, which is kind of cool. The tool that I mentioned earlier, the audio player, we're going to look here for some inspiration with audio. That's okay. Actually, that's not bad for the full story, right? There's text, there's audio at the bottom. Let's capture that one real quick. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, I kind of like this one too, because it's got like the skip forward. It's got the speed here. Let's look at this one. Oh, this is kind of cool. It's got a library here. Not bad. I mean, they've got this style. Actually, I think this is all made with ChatGPT. This is interesting for the styles, right? Like the genres of content that people could be listening to. Okay, so now we get a bunch of screenshots going on, especially some that are specific to the general elements that we're going to need in the app. So now that we've got some inspiration, we're going to go to Claude Design. And this is the best platform I've ever seen for design, especially when you're starting out. Okay, I just gave it a ton of pictures, and really important, we're going to give the entire blueprint to Claude. Okay, so copy the blueprint, put it in Claude Design. Now, this is an interesting move because the blueprint has all of the context about my app. So it's fantastic. We're not just building a design system here. We're actually building the full front end shell. The thing that Claude Design doesn't do, though, is actually build the functionality. And so you'd say, yeah, but the blueprint has a ton of instruction for stuff that doesn't actually apply at all to Claude Design, that it's not supposed to make. And that is true, but really anything that Claude Design can't do, it'll just ignore. And so it doesn't matter at all that we're giving it a little bit too much information. It's just going to take what it needs and build it. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more. Take all this information, build everything that you can, and anything that doesn't apply, you don't have to worry about right now. I want to make sure that you use the yellow orange accent color. And I also have a bunch of screenshots here that you can use for reference as far as the general scope of things. Keep in mind, this is going to be mobile native, and I want it to look friendly, simple, professional, and easy to use. So now we're just going to get started, and this is going to take a little bit while. It's going to cook. It's going to start building. It's going to do what it does. And so we'll come back when it's a little bit closer to ready. Okay, so here it is. It just came back. I actually really like the name. It's called Cuentos, which means stories in Spanish. It's kind of a cute, easy to say. That's cool. So far, so good. Okay. Oh, nice. Interesting. So you can definitely see the inspiration from the images that we put in. I like the way they're displayed. It looks like you've got topics and stories for each. All stories, new, recently played. Okay, that's kind of cool. New, yeah. We can sort by topic. I also like, oh, that's, yeah, okay. This is great. The colors for the language level as well. So let's go to beginner. Looks like all the stories are A1 now, which is the first level. Oh man, this is really cool. I actually like this a lot. I don't love the, oh, you know what? Never mind. I wasn't at the bottom. Okay, yeah. There's loop like we asked for, autoplay. Okay, great. You can skip back, skip forward, play. Yeah, oh man, I like this a lot. And there's the English and there's the Spanish. There's this kind of tooltip here. I don't love that. So what I'm actually going to do here is we're going to go to markup. This is a really cool new feature, and you can draw on the sections or just select them. To be honest, I'm just going to select this. Let's get rid of this tooltip. It's unnecessary. And send to Claude. It's probably going to get rid of that for us. I like how it says how long. There is a problem though, and that is the app itself is in English. So if you look at this app, and I don't know how much I've told you so far, but this is for Spanish speakers learning English. And so yes, the stories are supposed to be in English, but the actual app, like the interface, is supposed to be in Spanish. So this looks great. I'm a huge fan of so much of what I'm seeing here. One thing that's a big problem though is that the app itself is supposed to be in Spanish, not in English. So yes, the stories are in English, but the actual interface, right? The themes, the level switcher, the buttons, everything in the interface should be in Spanish by default. So keep in mind, the app isn't actually functional yet. It's not supposed to be able to do everything. And so that's why we don't actually have images for these yet. I mean, makes sense. We're not supposed to. Claude Design doesn't really generate images either. These are all placeholders. That's not a problem. I do think it's a little bit busy up here at the top. And so I'm gonna mark this up. And I'm going to say there are a lot of filters up here, and I would like it if there was some way to collapse this section. It just doesn't feel like we need all of that visible the whole time. So come up with a creative way to collapse that so that it's a little less busy at the top. Okay, and we're going to send that. It'll get working on that too. To be honest, I don't love the colors, right? I like the orange. But these different blues are a little distracting to me. Like if you look at, there's this blue and then this, I mean, I don't know. It's not a great color scheme if I had to say, or at least not what I'm looking for. So the color scheme is interesting because we have the orange that I really like, but then we also have kind of a weird turquoise color and then a different sort of blue and a magenta, green. I don't love the color scheme that you've picked for this. I think that it's not quite as bright as I had hoped. I'm definitely not looking for anything like childish, a little less pastel maybe. Keep the orange the same way it is and see if you can change the others. I didn't give it a ton of instruction for that one, but we'll see what we come up with. So while it's working on that, one thing that can be really helpful to try is, this looks really good, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And it's easy to just accept that, hey, I mean, it probably did a great job. And so it's nice to try. You might notice this other tab I have open. This isn't the first time I've done this. And so if we look, I built this earlier and this is a different variation. And, this was the first one. It kind of looked really nice, I thought, but I mean, it's a lot more simple and bland. There's some nice things here, the level up, but if you compare this to the version we have now, I mean, this new one is a lot better. See that? I mean, it just looks a lot more professional. It's a lot cleaner. Some of these elements here, the different colors, I like this a lot more. Okay. And so when you build the same thing multiple times and you don't share context between them, you'll find multiple versions to choose between. And a lot of the time you'll end up with a much better result. Sometimes you'll stay with the first one you pick. Sometimes the newer one will be better. Sometimes you'll find a little bit more inspiration while you go. But I'd recommend you don't just pick the first option if possible. Okay, so the new colors are in. I honestly already like these better than the ones before, right? It's a subtle difference, but they're just a little bit happier. Now, I know that these are just placeholders, right? The actual images of the stories are going to take the place of these. But at the same time, I mean, this color scheme is going to be used throughout the application. And so you'll see that probably here as well. We have some colors going on, as well as when you look at progress, we've got some colors. And so this is an important thing to understand. Yeah, definitely here as well, is a tokenized design system. And I'm actually going to ask Claude about that right now. But what you want is for there to be one spot where your entire design lives. Everything from the fonts that you use, the font sizes, the style of your cards, the colors, definitely. I mean, primary, secondary, tertiary colors, all of those details, anything from spacing between elements, all of the design elements that are important should live in one place. That means if this is going to have a color, it should take the color from that tokenized design system. So I'm going to ask about that. Okay, this is looking good. I just want to make sure that we have a tokenized design system behind this whole thing. I want it to be as detailed as possible and stored in one spot so that all of the design elements in this front end that you're building source from that. I don't want hard-coded design elements in my app. Is that what we have right now? And if not, make sure that you implement that. I'm going to send this. A cool thing about Claude, and one of my favorite things that a lot of AI coding agents don't do super well, is Claude knows how to weave in the messages that you send while it's already working. And so a lot of coding agents, what they'll do is if you send a message while it's going, it'll just queue it for later. And then you'd have to throw it in or wait for it to finish. But Claude will take that and it will either act on it a little bit later or implement it into what it's doing right now, which is super useful. Okay, it's just finishing up some final checks. There's something really important that we found. Remember how I asked about the tokenized design system? Well, it wasn't tokenized, and that was in the prompt. It didn't follow it. You really need to check for that because it says that everything was hard-coded as inline values throughout. That's exactly what you don't want. It says it's fine for a quick prototype, but this isn't just a quick prototype, right? So it built it in, tokens, 65 color tokens plus type, radius, all of that is in now. So that is fantastic. Now it looks like it's done. Okay, perfect. This is really great. So let's call this done. There's always more that you can do. You know, there's the edit section as well where you can change literally anything. I mean, to the finest level of granularity, you can do all of that. For now, we're just going to continue. And so share, this is great. We could share a link. We could export the whole system. For example, if you're using something that's not in the Claude interface, if you're using Codex, if you're using Lovable, you can export this. But if you're using Claude, then just send it to Claude Code, right? Or it looks like, I mean, you can send it to Lovable if you're doing that. Base 44, there's a couple, but I use Claude Code. And so let's do this. Copy the prompt. Now we're going to jump into, I use VS Code. I just really like the interface. I like being able to see the code and look up the files as well. So we're going to put this in here. That's the design, but don't forget, we're still going to put the blueprint in there. This is the first prompt that we use. And so the blueprint has all the context. And so that goes first. And then we have the design below. So it has, use the Claude Design MCP. I'm actually going to give it a little bit more context. So I'm going to say, I already built out the entire design with Claude Design. And so I want you to use this as the starting point and then build off of that. So check this out. I've got the entire blueprint with all of the context. And I mean, it's an extensive thing, but trust me, Claude can handle it. And we're going to jump right in. Let's see. I'm in Opus. That looks good. And go. So I'm sure you can imagine this is going to take a while. No worries. Here's the part where you get a drink of water, go away. But it's going to build out the entire front end. There's a couple things we're not doing quite yet. One of those is the back end. We're going to do that in the next video, but for now, we're just starting with the front end shell. We're going to make sure that we get something that we're happy with. In my opinion, there's no reason in building out a bunch of back end tools if you haven't even finalized the actual shell of the front end yet. Okay. Fetching the URL, definitely. We want to be able to look at that design. And another thing that we're not doing is we're not linking any tools. We're not adding APIs. We're not adding AI functionality to this thing. We're not adding payment. None of that needs to be linked in yet because like I said, same thing, we're just building this shell, okay? All right, it's asking a question. How do you want the design import? Let's do the MCP. Okay, so we're back. It's been probably about 45 minutes. It's been working for a long time and it's finally done, okay? And this was a one shot, but not of the full app, just of the front end, okay? So now let's see, we've opened the dev server and this is what it looks like. Let's try it, okay? It's asking about English level. Wow, this is impressive. Let's go with the beginning. It's a little onboarding, okay, nice. So this is what we've got. It's going a little slow, so we'll have to work on that. But yeah, this is it. Continue. Okay. I will say this looks even better than the design system. I don't know, like the quality looks even higher here somehow. So here we go. It looks like it's really ready. Yeah, I guess the weird thing. Oh, I see. So the reason it's offset like this is because when it wraps the text, then it pushes the card up higher. So that'd be an easy fix. So I'm going to get a screenshot. This one could include 2. So one quick bug that I want to fix that really messes up the visual congruency here is when the title wraps to the second line, it pushes the card up a little bit, and so it doesn't line up with the rest. You can see in the screenshot a couple examples. Just make it so that the card position isn't changed by the title. While it's working on that, let's look at some of the other things. Profile. This does look like I would expect. Really what you do is you'd go through and you'd test the entire thing, right? The design tokens are set up so that if we wanted to change the design later on, maybe change the font or the color scheme again, it'd be super easy to work on that. There's also scalability and security standards built in. And so things like shared helpers so that code isn't just repeated all over the place. This is a fantastic start to our app. So I know you're curious, how does that compare to the lazy version over here? So just to remind you, in this timeline, we've been building the whole thing, but without any of this UX, UI, design, Claude Design research. We just left all that aside and decided to let Claude do whatever it wanted to do. And so that version is done and it looks like this. Okay, at first glance, not bad. You're probably looking at this and thinking, hey, it looks pretty good. That's because AI is going to try and get you with the eye candy. Okay, so we've got these huge gradients all over the place, the colors, right? We've got emojis literally everywhere. That is super AI. A lot of people see a design like this and they think, man, that looks fantastic. Like, look at all the bright colors. In reality, it doesn't look professional. There's not a lot to the design. It hasn't really picked a side on a visual brand identity. Here you can really see the difference. Just which one looks like it was built by a professional design firm. Okay. Yes, we've got gradients and bright colors here. This doesn't look like an app that I would download off the App Store and use. On the other hand, this just has a cohesive identity, right? It looks the same throughout. It's professional. Let's go to the stats pit. Yeah. Look at this. See, this one's just more bland. You can see it's the same statistics really, but it's pretty obvious that this is the way we're going to go. Now, I want to be clear about something. sometimes when you start with a design that's this sophisticated, even though you tell Claude Code or whatever you're using to make the system scalable, sometimes it'll still cut corners to make it look like the original design that you had prototyped. And so what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to run a quick design scalability audit where I'm essentially just going to ask the system to make absolute sure that the tokenized system is used consistently throughout the app and that everything is built to scale. And it's possible it's going to find a couple errors, a couple things that we could clean up, and that'll be really useful to get fixed from the very beginning. Don't keep building until you're sure that the system is ready to scale. So let me know what you thought. Is there anything that you would do different? Is there anything that you want to teach me? Anything that you really liked about this? Overall, this process took maybe 2 to 2.5 hours. I mean, it's almost 1 a.m. I've got to get to bed. The next step is adding the backend, and we're going to make sure it's scalable, secure, and absolutely bulletproof before we trust it with real users. Okay, so subscribe if you'd like to see that. That video will be coming out pretty soon, and I'll see you then.